Hey everybody, welcome back to Fish. Should you buy Moonlighter? Yes, and here's why. This charming game is going to be one of the best things that has come out of 11-bit studios since This War of Mine, which was released back in 2014. Moonlighter is a roguelike game that follows Will, restocking his shop during the day, but at night secretly living out his dreams of becoming a hero. The art is pixel perfect and intricately detailed, which brings the entire game to life. You play as Will, a shopkeeper, traveling through random dungeons near a store and risking his life to bring anything back of value. Will's store lies at the top of the town. The initial store has space for 4 items, each of which you decide their value and sell them. The simple fun in striking the perfect price for you and your consumers is delightful, and to see that perfect satisfaction to people who enter your store leaves you happy and fulfilled. The money you gain from the store can either be reinvested into the store or put towards your progression in the dungeons, creating new weapons, potions, armor, and much more. Or it can be used to purchase a new store inside your town. Being able to craft items with gold and various materials found in dungeons is an incredibly satisfying gameplay loop, and paired with the tight combat makes it a phenomenal game. The visuals are beautiful, and the variation between each dungeon demonstrates the pure creative talent poured into this game to create a town full of life along with dungeons full of danger. Each pixel does a near perfect job illustrating this young boy's passion towards adventure, as well as the vibrant life that you are surrounded in. What really impressed me was the variation of enemies. During your run through a dungeon, you catch glimpses of the dungeon higher, and a temporarily reveal the beauty you are striving towards. These fleeting glimpses motivate you not only through the unique art style which accompanies every dungeon, but also the enemies and their innovative way of trying to take your life. The range of attacks is really good to see for a game that focuses on progression so heavily, and fits right into the roguelike element. Another perfect aspect of the game is its death. A roguelike generally implies that when you die, you don't necessarily start from the beginning, or you're equipped with gear to push you further into your next run. Instead, this game demolishes your inventory, which leaves you heartbroken and appalled. But you have a choice of saving your spot or teleporting home prior to your death, provided that you have the reflexes to do so. Even if you do manage to die, there's the perfect balance between, oh shit, I've got to start all over again, and it's fine, I can just make it back up to that point. The division into individual dungeons is a really good aspect of the game, because it not only prevents endless tedious backtracking, but it also means it's easier to find certain materials to craft or sell. I'm amazed by the simplicity of this game-changing mechanic, and it's implemented so flawlessly, I barely noticed the huge impact it has on my experience with the game. However, obviously, this game must have some flaws, and the biggest flaw to me is the movement. Something about the movement just feels slightly off. Since the game uses WASD as well as the controller direction is split up into 4 different directions. What this means is, instead of smoothly running in circles, you have an awkward combination between diagonal movement and movement along an axis. For a comparison, the movement I feel most comfortable with is that of Crawl, another indie game I'm sure I'll review. The movement in Crawl is based around direction of either the mouse or the controller, meaning the movement is simple and you can move any direction with ease. The movement in Moonlighter, however, limits you from moving any direction that isn't either along the x-axis or the y-axis. Accompanied with a dodge roll, the movement in Moonlighter can actually cause death, where I intended to move diagonally down, but actually move to the left or right. Fortunately, the combat makes up for this. As essential as movement is, it's one that I can get used to, and it doesn't ruin the flow and overall perfection of the game. The combat is simple and intuitive, every third strike is stronger than the last 2 for all items of the game, and, like armor and weaponry, everything can be upgraded. Another really nice addition is the choice between 2 unique paths when crafting new weaponry, one using magic and the other using brute force. It's simple and fun and works into the game flow. It's also really refreshing to have a game that isn't entirely dependent on either solely currency or materials. In the dungeons, enemies drop different materials of different value, depending on the level of dungeon, type of enemy, and type of dungeon. These materials can be used to craft new items which will help you progress in the dungeon, or you can place them in your store to be sold. This leads me to my next praise of the game. The flawless combination of both roguelike dungeon crawling and store managing is reminiscent of Stardew Valley, but moves closer to the money aspect of things. You manage your small store and alter the prices of the items based off the customers' responses and the popularity of these items. Your store can be upgraded in multiple ways to encourage tips or include more space or have a discount box. After a tough run at the dungeon, you come back to the store and sell the materials that you do not need. The chill management style of the store perfectly contrasts the frantic dungeon gameplay and feels like an entirely different game. Money can also be used to purchase new stores for your town, as you witness your town slowly grow as you progress further and further into the dungeons. This game did something that not enough games do these days. So many roguelike games fall into the same repetitive loop, with small unique elements that struggle to differentiate the game from others in its genre. Moonlight stands tall and proud and shines out from other games, defining itself as a beautiful step forward for the genre, as a perfectly executed blend between two different genres. So all of that has been said, why should you buy Moonlighter? Firstly, its beautiful visuals accompanied with its polished, varied soundtrack makes this game perfect to play in virtually any mood. Paired with the variation of gameplay styles, this game will appeal to not only fans of roguelike games, but fans of games in general. Also, it has a beginning, middle, and end, presented to you from the very beginning. The goal is simple, but achieving it is not, and the game won't hold your hand for much longer after the initial few minutes. Finally, it's full of charm, has a satisfying loop that will keep you addicted for hours. Moonlighter is available on Steam for $20 USD, but if you're lucky, you can find it on Reddit for trading or at a discount in the Humble store. You should buy Moonlighter. Thanks for watching the video.